turn this way a little bit. Alright, so what's the question?
Well, alright. I mean, I've watched videos, a lot of people have seen videos, and you speak highly of, like, Floyd Mayweather in the boxing community. And I just never, you know, heard you say anything about Pacquiao. So, I'm just curious, like, what's your thoughts on Pacquiao? It could be just as a boxer. I don't know if you know anything else, or if you know anything else, you know, just your thoughts on it.
Well, I don't really follow boxing or combat sport much to begin with, but I mean, I know about Pacquiao, obviously. I heard about him. From the videos that I've seen, the highlights, he's talented. He's very talented. He has a different style than Mayweather, though.
Right.
He's more aggressive, you know. He's kind of like, to me, kind of like a small, little version of like Mike Tyson. You know, like
I can see that.
Yeah, like going in there aggressive and just to pretty much like knock him out, you know. And what I think one of the big things that sets him apart is just, I mean, it sucks that it has to be this way, but because of his race. I mean, how many Asian people do you know in the boxing that have been successful? Or even unsuccessful, you know?
Yeah, we're just, you're right, in boxing.
You know what I'm saying? So like to have an Asian person in there, I think it means a lot for the Asian community, especially for the Filipino community, because you think about it, like who talks about the Philippines? I mean, people talk about China all the time, you know.
Right.
You know, karate's well known, you know, Japan's well known, you know,
right.
As far as like the promotion of karate and jiu-jitsu and judo and taekwondo from Korea. But where do you hear about the Philippines? You know, so he brought a lot of like worldwide national attention towards his country.
Right.
And he used boxing as a platform to do that.
Right.
You know, so I think that's one of the hugest things. And then he ended up using his talents and skills and fame to end up going into the politics.
Yeah, which I think that's great, man. Like,
yeah, which I respect, you know. And he's like going from the physical to the mind, because he knew, you know, that the physical can only last so long. I mean, you're gonna end up getting too old to do this stuff.
Right.
So you got to put your energies into something more mental if you want to keep going further. And that's kind of what Arnold Schwarzenegger did too.
Yeah,
you know?
the governor.
So then, but as far as his boxing is concerned, he was like really talented. But I think for him, he kind of rushes into fights too much without like, he's not like Mayweather who's like really strategic.
Like he'll, tactical.
Yeah, he'll like choose his fights more tactically, more intelligently, so he can stay undefeated. But I think Pacquiao, we just jumped the gun. Especially when you lose one time, like, you know what? What's the difference between you losing 1 and 2 and 3? Let me just fight, you know, so then I could just, you know, make the money, whatnot.
Right.
And I think that's what sets the difference. That's why I put so much, you know, more of my focus on Mayweather, because how many boxers do you know are undefeated? That makes a huge difference, you know.
There's only, I mean, as far as professional that we know of, there's only one before him. That was Rocky Marciano, and then him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why
champion, you know, boxers.
Because that just shows like, hey, you know, his strategy, his tactics, it was perfection as far as the way that he was able to manage it. Now, Pacquiao and Mike Tyson could have done the same. True. But they had to be patient. But they're not patient. You could just see it the way that they box. They're not patient. Like, you know what, you're dancing around to him, let's just get down to it, you know?
Knocking you out.
Just go in there. And then you see, like, the problems with that. Eventually, you know, your weakness is going to be exposed, and then you're going to get knocked out, or you're going to lose. Happened to Tyson, happened to Pacquiao, and, you know, it happens to people that aren't patient. But he's very talented, and I think he's one of the top ones that were in there.
I mean,
so.
Not to cut you off. I think Pacquiao's you know, he moved in different weight classes. He's like one of the best boxers, just in my opinion, especially in the divisions that he's in, because, like you said, it's rare in boxing that you just find one Asian boxers, but two, just in a division where he's like, man, he dominated it for, you know what I'm saying, like the better part of a decade. I mean, there's Mayweather too, but Mayweather did it, like you said, more patient way. It's like, hey, you know, Pacquiao had exciting fights. He fought guys multiple times, which Mayweather, it's only, I think, been like maybe 3 fighters he fought more than once. So it's like Pacquiao's like, all right, like an unorthodox style. He fought multiple fighters and in different weight classes. I just from boxing, like he's up there. He's like one of the top guys, at least for his time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about him, but what I think I've read is that he was like hugely inspired by Bruce Lee too. And to me, he's almost like Bruce Lee reincarnated as a boxer. You
well,
know?
yeah, I mean, I can see that.
You know, like there's even a photo that I saw of him where he had his shirt off and he was all ripped up, like Bruce. You know, like all ripped up, and you know his hair. You know, I think he had the goatee, and then he was doing something like this. I mean, he was like Bruce Lee, you know, and then, like, but in boxing. But the difference is Bruce Lee wouldn't have lost. No, first of all, Bruce Lee wouldn't even get into that. But if Bruce Lee did get into that, he wouldn't have lost. He wouldn't lose. He'd be like Mayweather. He'd be like perfectionist, because that's how Bruce was. Perfectionist. Like, you know what? If I get hit one time, like, I lost. So then they're so perfect in what they do that they can't lose because they take like a win as a loss.
Right.
You know, he hit me once. I hit him 1,000 times, but he hit me once. I still lost in his mind. So then he just keeps perfecting it to the point where he just does not lose.
So I mean, I can see that. And actually, we could take reference from that fight he had with the guy, I guess, that challenged him to where they got into a fight where he was like, oh, well, you can't teach martial art. They had it in the movie. I don't know. They embellished a lot of stuff in the movie, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Where he's like, man, my style, he according to most accounts, I don't know if it's true or not, Bruce won, but he didn't won fast enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I won. Like, I lost because I should have been whooped this guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's how Bruce was, but Bruce was all about the real combat, not about the sport. But if he was in the sport, he'd be like a Pacquiao. And Pacquiao, I respect it because he's in boxing. It's a stand-up game.
Right. And
that's what I promote for the martial arts, is the stand-up thing. You know, he made a bunch of money, got a lot of fame. He brought attention to his country, and people recognized the Philippines. And it would be nice to see more Asians involved in the boxing and be successful. You know, it would be nice, you know, because there's just not a lot of Asian role models out there to begin with. Not in Hollywood, not in boxing, clearly not in football. I mean, like basketball, I mean, there's Jeremy Lin for that short period, and then he disappeared.
He still plays, but he's not getting, they kicked him out of New York. That's something else.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like, there's not that many people. That's why it's big for the Asians, because even though he's not Chinese, my roots are Chinese, but the fact that he's Asian kind of makes it big.
Like, it's inspiring. It's like, hey, you see, you know, it's like, all right, he did it, you know, maybe even if it's not, you know, basketball, it's like, man, I can do something on a high level. Like, we're not just boxed into this one, you know, how people view you. Even for, you know, me as a black person, like, oh man, somebody became president. Okay, if he can become president, I could at least become a senator. You know what I'm saying? Even if I never become, you know, such and such, it just, you know, it can propel people.
I mean, because you think about it, you guys got a lot of influences. I mean, you got with the whole rap industry, it's just all black, and the football and basketball and boxing. I mean, all these sports, I mean, even golf. I mean, Tiger Woods got up in there.
Yeah.
But he's half Asian, but nobody recognizes that.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, he's black. No, he's not Asian, he's black. But what about the head? Like, no. Like, so then it's like boxing, we got the Pacquiao. Basketball, we had the Jeremy Lin. Rap, we had Jen.
Right.
And then it's just like, you know, Hollywood, just Bruce Lee.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, you can literally count in your hands how many Asians are recognized out there with respect. I'm not talking about like Jackie Chan, where you know they're clowning people.
Right.
You know, Pacquiao had respect. You know, he's like, man, this dude's fast. You know, he's explosive. Right. A lot of people around, even like blacks were on his side with him and with him and
no,
Mayweather.
You're right.
A lot of blacks live. I want Pacquiao. I'm like, I want Mayweather.
I made a bet with my cousin. He's like, yeah, man, Pacquiao gonna win it. I was just shaking my head. Like, how you gonna, like, no offense. Like, he cool. I like Pacquiao too, but like, no, man. Like, I ain't with you on that one.
You know? So it's just like, you know, and then when you get people like that, it could bring cultures together. Because people, the blacks be like, I don't even know where the Philippines are. But then because of Pacquiao, they know about the Philippines now.
True. You
know, and it's just like, it's always like black and white out there. Always. But, you know, the Asians is like hidden. And I'm really great. You know, I'm thankful that he made it that far. And then he's known and he's recognized. And most importantly, he's respected.
Yeah.
He's not somebody who's just like clowned on. You know, because we get too much of that. You know.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, movies and certain characters is like, all right, you've seen this enough times, like, all right, this has become, I hate to use the word, but buffoonery. It's like, man, this is how y'all view, you know, a whole race of people. It just like, you know, as a joke. It's like, we ain't no joke. You know what I'm saying?
But
like,
but again, when we talked about in the other room, I just want to respect like, I don't know much about the music, but the Wu-Tang, promoting the Chinese culture like that, I think that's great for the Chinese. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because you had Bruce Lee that was single-handedly trying to do it on his own, and then he passes away, and then you got somebody like successful people like the Wu-Tang, like, hey, we're gonna take that off your burden, and we're gonna help promote your culture.
Right.
Which I think is great, even though I don't listen to the music, but maybe I should start looking into it, you know?
I mean, they a lot of people know about Wu-Tang. I like Wu-Tang. They call Staten Island, like, where they from. They call that, like, that's their Shaolin. Like, that's how they... So I'm like, okay, y'all borrowed that. I respect that. But a lot of... I mean, Wu-Tang is an acquired taste. I like Wu-Tang. I grew up listening to them. Some people look at them as, like, a glorified gang. Other people look at it like, hey, they're just rappers, you know. They guys from the hood. And they respect Chinese culture, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that, but with Pacquiao, I mean, I'm glad that you know, cleared that up. I didn't know how you felt about it. I just felt a need to ask you, like, man, how you view Pacquiao, man? You talk about Mayweather, but I'm like, man, you don't talk about Pacquiao at all.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. That's what I said. You know, once you lose once, it's like, man, you messed up.
Yeah.
Because you already showed that you're not living up to what we always dreamed of seeing, like that fantasy, like that person that just never dies, that person that just never loses. I mean, there's always, it's the fantasy, but you want to believe that where somebody could be perfect.
Right.
And Mayweather is doing it.
To live up, you know, to the fantasy.
Yeah, you know, to live up to it. It's like, and Bruce he portrayed that on screen, and then the unique thing is he died when he was at the top.
Right.
And now people, they hold on to that. They're like, man, that's what we got to get to. But in reality, people get old, like Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, and then they see that, and they kind of like, you know, it takes away from them, like that perception of like, hey, you know, this perfection, you know. But boxing, Mayweather's proving that if you do it right, you can be undefeated.
Yeah.
And what do you call it? Tyson did it for a while.
Initially, yeah.
You know, and even Muhammad Ali, but just once you start getting towards the end, you have to be more careful. You can't just like walk into stuff. You can't just, you know, like underestimate people.
Yeah.
You gotta consistently, like, just basically take every moment as if this is the first time or the last time, and then you gotta just like the Golden State. I heard like they're like 15-0 or something.
Dude, they 16-0. They doing something that's unprecedented.
That's what I'm saying. I heard they're 16-0. That's what I'm saying. Is like when you're doing something like that, it draws your attention. But Pacquiao's talented, but until he lost, and then he lost multiple times.
Right.
Now you're great, but now you just get thrown into the category of everybody else,
Right.
who's also great. You
Right.
know, but who's standing alone undefeated? Mayweather.
Well,
and Rocky. You know?
Right. I see what you mean on a perception thing. Like, when you just talk about Jordan, I mean, minus the wizard years, like him getting old, people always like, oh man, Jordan's the greatest ever, which is, you know, you can debate that. I view him as like on both ends of the floor, he's the best. But like people look at LeBron, they're like, oh, I hate LeBron, and like you've seen him lose in the finals, or you've seen him like lose in certain. But with Jordan, it's like, man, he got to the finals, they won. You know what I'm saying? You never saw him lose in the finals. And like you said, it's like people see that, like, man, that's perfection. Like, that can't be touched unless you go to the finals and you win, you know, either throughout your whole career every year, or you go and win 7, you know what I'm saying, championships. You can't touch that perception of Jordan. So I see what you mean on that point. And like Mayweather, like you said, he's proven like, all right, well, yeah, you can go not just, you know, undefeated, but he's boxed for quite some time. Like, I think like 20 years almost. It'll be 20 years next year.
Yeah.
So to have a career like that and still be, man, you was good at day one, you were good, you know, at the end of your career is rare. You know?
Yeah. I mean, just basically taking every boxing match very seriously and not taking it for granted. And that's how you stay undefeated. But once you get to the mentality, man, this dude ain't nothing. He's gonna train. We just play some video games. Dude ain't nothing. To Buster Douglas, man, his name's already a Buster. So I'm just gonna bust him up in the ring. Where the video games at? You know, it just shows like a lack of discipline and just kind of just arrogance and just like, you know what, like, he ain't nothing. And that's how you lose. But imagine a day when one day NBA team never loses the whole season.
I mean
that's possible.
It can happen right now until Golden State get their first loss.
like when you witness that, you're like, whoa, during your lifetime, you're like, whoa, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like even the Cubs getting close to the World Series, people are getting all excited.
Pop champagne.
Like it happened like in 50 years or whatever. They're like all talking about it, but like I'm what will draw my attention is people who mark history. I've seen a bunch of boxers that lost 4 times. Oh, he only lost 3. You still lost.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's, like you said, with Pacquiao, it's like, hey, you know, people can say certain things like, well, we can still pull up the video or picture. Like, this is, you know, like the blueprint. Like, this is how you beat so-and-so. I remember 50 Cent says, like, hey, with Mayweather's like, there is no blueprint. Ain't nobody beat him. You can't pull up nothing. But, I mean, that's your point. Or at least that's what I'm hearing is like, hey, like, it's cool to see. It's like, I mean, anybody can lose. You know, anybody can have their number pulled or just that one person that just figures you out. But until somebody does it, it's like, man, you have that perception like, man, can't nobody do it.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's why, like, even though, like, I'm perceived as Asian, and that's what people will mark me by, and it'd be their assumption, oh, you know, your favorite boxer is probably Pacquiao because you're Asian too. It's not like that. It's like, you know, I'm about, you know, who's proving, like, perfection. Like, I don't need to study any other boxers. I'm going to study the person that's mastered it.
Right.
You know, and, like, why study all these other scientists when you got Einstein?
True.
You want to study the master. That's why I was like, Jordan, I don't need to pay attention to nobody else.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Kobe Bryant look just as good, but no, he's not Jordan.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is Jordan. You know, so I don't need nobody else. You know, everybody go down. So it was mainly like Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Mayweather, you know, like that's who I'm focused on. Jordan, Bruce Lee, like that's the martial arts. Like that's why everybody don't really like me because I only give credit to Bruce Lee all the time. But everybody's like, what about this person, that person? Like no, don't worry. Pay attention to him.
Right.
Because it's just that's how the type of person I am. When I find that one person, I'm on him.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need to pay attention to all that. Like I know who the master is, and that's what I'm heading towards. Because he's the one. He's gonna give you that one pointed focus where he's like, you know, you don't need to get confused by all these other people.
Right.
I'm leading you the way. You know, and then you'll be like, okay, like I recognize that. I see that. Hey, this person is representing the way, you know.
Right.
I mean, I don't follow golf, but in golf it might be Tiger Woods.
I mean, when he was dominating at that time, it's like, yeah, he was the blueprint. Like, you want to do it well, this is, if you know what I'm saying, have the power that he had at that time, and just on a skill level, like, that's who you study. You're not going to study the guy that came in second. Like, you want to study to win.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy isn't winning. He's cool. He's good. This is who you want to be like.
Exactly. Like Usain Bolt, man. I mean, just hands down, you can't even refute that. You know, he's the 100-meter champ. You know.
Right.
Why study somebody that's slower than him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why study? You know what I'm saying? Well, this guy came in 9th. Well, I don't care about that dude. But he had a broken leg. Well, I don't care. Like this is still the #1 dude. Like, I'm studying the #1 guy, and that's why. You know, like I said, Pacquiao is great, and his, you know, being Filipino and everything, his boxing style, I guess people could be drawn to him because they might box like him. Right. And be like, well, I want to be successful and I box just like him. Then that makes maybe give a reason for people to follow him and be inspired by him because they're kind of, that's their style. It's just like basketball. Like Michael Jordan might be #1, but if you're like my height, then maybe you shouldn't focus on Michael Jordan. Maybe you should focus on somebody like
Steph Curry.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? He's shooting out the gym, and it's like, man, I can dribble, I can shoot, a lot of that stuff. I can't jump out the gym, but I can do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the blueprint as far as like, all right, I'm going to follow that, and I can take stuff from Jordan.
Yeah.
You know, his whole game, you know, you got to, I want to stick to your limitations, but acknowledge like, okay, this is a limitation for me, let me go this direction.
Exactly. That's why when it comes to like boxing, like with Mayweather, he's like my size, and he's lightweight. And he spars exactly how I like to spar.
Yeah, I noticed. He got
he's like the black Bruce Lee up in there, like doing the thing, you know. And like Bruce Lee was just like that. I like Bruce Lee, I like Mayweather, because that's my style. Right. Mike Tyson's great, but I'm not Mike Tyson. I mean, I'm not his size. I'm not that aggressive type. You know what I'm saying?
Well, being aggressive, having all that weight, and I mean, boxing like this, you're leaving all this open. I mean, it's like you said, it's for aggressive type of person. I look at. More so, and even like Pacquiao, he's southpaw. So even boxing like him is like, man, like a lot of times he has advantages because he's punching with his left instead of with his right, you know. So if somebody, I look at Pacquiao like, hey, if you're a southpaw, that's the route to go. If you know, orthodox, you know, look at somebody more like Mayweather.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people that are talented out there. I mean, you see them all over YouTube, but I think it's important for me to identify, at least for me, who I'm gonna study, opposed to who I'm not gonna study. Because I mean, like one person, I mean Osho, I've been on him, reading his books for like the last, you know, let me see.
It's been that long, you can't even remember.
It's been long, you know, like it's been like 8 years.
Okay.
I mean, I've only been reading his books for 8 years, and I'm still just studying him because I want to study the person thoroughly before I jump onto the next. And after him, I might not even jump onto anybody else because I don't see anybody representing that wisdom to the caliber that he was representing. I might just start going over his stuff and work all over again. You know, and that's kind of what I did with Bruce, is like, you know, just keep studying him, and I don't need to go to anybody else because nobody else has proven to me that they're worth my time studying.
Right. I mean, the only way I can see, just from your mindset, like, all right, somebody who's gotten to this point, like, all right, they're at the top of the mountain. You need to either find, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying like reading or studying somebody's like, who climbed a bigger mountain? Or who climbed who took it further? Like for me to acknowledge or, you know, follow them is like, man, who took it, you know what I'm saying, a whole nother level. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just like with Jordan, they keep, sports is more easily to compare because they'll be like, well, Jordan got 6 championships and he did this and this. Say somebody comes up there and they'll be like, well, I got 12 championships and I did all this, and Jordan's, you know, scored 82. Well, I scored 102. You know
right.
I mean, sports is more comparable like that, but martial arts is not like that. It's more like a whole person's life encompassing, and then you're just assessing a person's entire life and his way of being, and that's more like on a personal level, like who you spiritually connect with, you know, because like who do you want to almost be like as a human, not just like as a fighter, but as a human. And it goes beyond just, oh, you know, he won this many matches. So Mayweather, even though he's undefeated, he's not like a huge influence in my life as far as like being a better person.
Been in jail, man. I mean, no offense. I mean, hey, people go to jail. Martin Luther King's been to jail.
Yeah.
So I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean
Malcolm X too.
Right, Malcolm X. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. You go to jail, but at the same time, it's like, well, what did you go for?
Yeah.
Well, I was fighting for freedom.
Yeah.
Well, I put my hands on my woman.
Yeah.
Like I can't vouch for that, but you're a great boxer. This person's you know, he was out in the streets getting beat up fighting for freedom.
Yeah. I mean, so it's just, that's the difficulty with a boxer. It's just like, you know, he's claiming like, oh, you know, he might be claiming, well, I'm the best and nobody could touch me. But then there's going to be people like, no, like Muhammad Ali's the best, you're not the best.
Right.
But then if you look at Muhammad Ali and everything that is more encompassing, it's more like a martial arts, like the way that he was, you know, like the way that he would speak against certain things, his intelligence. Like he was basically not just about the money and the business. He was about, let me use my fame and my money and the people paying attention to me, let me help get them to maybe get more intelligence, or, you know, use this for a better purpose for the world, you know. So I would see Muhammad Ali almost like is different. He's not just a boxer. He's more like an activist, you know, or like somebody that wants like social change, you know, during his time. I
mean, he sacrificed his career in his prime to speak out against those issues. I mean, he was what, like around my age, 28, 29, I think. He wasn't even boxing then. Yeah. He didn't come back till he's like 30-something.
Because basically during his time, he was really like standing up against racism and all the time, because that was strong back then. Yeah. So it was like, to compare, it's like comparing like Mayweather to him. It's not just on a boxing level, but like on a human level. Who's done more? Well, I'd say Muhammad Ali. Absolutely. Clearly, you know. Yeah. So that's kind of how a martial artist is like. You wanna basically follow somebody that's representing life in general, like on a spiritual level as well, and the physical and the combative all together in one, and that's who you want to go by. And that's why I'm drawn to Bruce Lee, because he helped me spiritually. Nobody else out there did that for me, you know. That's why I promote his teachings over anybody. Like Jet Li makes great movies, you know, but he hadn't reached. I've never been you know,
That
affected by
connection,
him,
yeah.
by like the way I was with Bruce Lee, you know. So, you know, Tony Jaa's another one. Pacquiao's great in boxing. Mayweather's great in boxing. So, but yeah, that's it, you know.
Okay. Wasn't too long, was it?